goal, and
Well, I'm looking at that, and that to me is screaming a back five all day long. And for that, it's just a question. If you're going to play a back five against Man City, you're going to have very, very little going forward, if anything. Then it becomes a question of, can City get an early goal?
So Dom Solanke is going to be ploughing the lonest of lone furrows, because those behind him in Philip Billing and Jefferson Lerma, particularly Billing, they're not exactly that attack-minded either, are they?
No, they're not. Although I did the game against Newcastle, Bournemouth's game against Newcastle, which isn't going to go on a highlights reel.
No.
But for all that, Solanke was very, very good.
And I think he's playing a lot better now, isn't he, than a couple of seasons ago? Definitely.
Holding the ball up, bringing players in, but this is a different beast, Man City.
So, over to you, Man City. 5 points behind Arsenal as things stand. Arsenal running out 1-0 winners at Leicester, and a goal disallowed, a penalty not given, but they found a way through Gabriel Martinelli early in the second half. The title race is compelling. The fight to stay up is compelling. And Bournemouth and Man City have both got a big role to play in each of those, and they're up next right here. Don't go away on Premier League Live.
Previously on White and Jordan.
Well, we didn't budget for this money. Surely we want to give it to our lesser cousins. Yes, and the moon's made of cheese, right?
Clash of the Simon.
The modern day fairy tale today in English football almost inevitably involves
Vitality Stadium. I'm your host, Tim Long. Alongside me, former Stoke City and Reading striker Dave Kitson. This is Premier League Live, and this is a big game that concerns both ends of the top flight table. Guardiola's Blues arrive on the south coast, now 5 points behind Arsenal, with the top two having played the same number of games. But here, they get a chance to immediately close the gap before the Gunners can go again. For Gary O'Neill's Cherries, it's the midst of a battle royal down the bottom. Every game has to be seen as an opportunity to pick up precious points, even if it's against the defending back-to-back champions. On the face of it, it looks like they don't stand a chance here today. They've lost all 11 of their Premier League meetings with today's opponents, but they return home buoyed by a first away win in 5.5 months last week, lifting them out of the bottom three, at least until earlier today. While Pep City have won just one of their last 6 on the road in all competitions and are dealing with a quick turnaround, having drawn in Germany just 3 days ago. To the teams then, and Bournemouth make just the one enforced change, and it's a defensive one to the 1-0 win at Wolves last week. And match winner Marcus Tavernier hasn't quite made it. He's injured, so Chris Mepham comes in to make it a back 5 as they go with Neto in goal. A back 5 from right to left of Smith, Stevens, Mepham, Senesi and Zamora. A midfield pairing of Lerma and Billing, and then Ouattara and Traore supporting Solanke up top. For City, 3 changes from the 1-1 draw in Leipzig on Wednesday. Julian Alvarez, Phil Foden and Rico Lewis in for goalscorer Riyad Mahrez, Bernardo Silva and Kyle Walker. And the league's leading goal creator Kevin De Bruyne missed out in midweek due to illness. He is well enough at least for the bench. The full lineup then for City: Ederson in goal, a back 4 of Lewis, Akanji, Diaz and Ake, a midfield of Gundogan and Rodri, and then Foden, Alvarez and Grealish supporting Haaland up top. Dave, thoughts on the team news, the changes for City, 3 of them today, the Tavernier absence for Bournemouth and their decision to switch to that back 5?
Yeah, I think with City, look, the games are coming thick and fast, as you say, back from Leipzig after sort of a bit of an indifferent game, to be honest, where I didn't think they were at their best. But the games now are coming, Champions League, and FA Cup, and Premier League, and this is why they build a magnificent squad, because they have to change it around. But there's more. I mean, there's arguably more firepower on the pitch tonight than there was in the Champions League. So I do expect them to roll Bournemouth over. But a back 5, that's all well and good if you get to half time and then you get to 60 and then you get to 75. If you concede one in the first 5 minutes, the whole game plan goes out the window.
City very good, of course, this season, but lots of talk about them not being quite as good as last season. How do you assess them right now in terms of their performances and their aspirations for the season?
Yeah, it's strange. I think the whole football world, certainly in the UK, is trying to put their finger on what it is. And the obvious change to say is that, well, we brought Haaland in, so we're now playing a little bit differently. And yet the guy scored goals on a level that we've never seen before.
Yeah, it's fascinating,
it's just
isn't
incredible. It? But that's not the issue. For me, if it is indeed an issue, is that there are some things which are. I watched Bernardo Silva. The amount of times Bernardo Silva is the furthest player back, and you think, well, why? Why is he getting the ball off the goalkeeper? He's so good going forward. Why is that a thing? But listen, there are a lot more people who know a lot more about football than me who have tried to pick the brains of Pep Guardiola and failed. So you kind of just have to trust him. The league is still there for them. The Champions League is still there for them. The FA Cup is still there for them. So we'll have to judge it at the end of the season.
Just going back to what you said about Haaland, there was lots of debate about that, wasn't there, in midweek after that Champions League game? A bit of criticism, I suppose, in terms of how he fits in with this Manchester City side, the low number of touches he had in the box. 32 goals this season. That's more than any other player in Europe's top 5 leagues. You don't think that's an issue? They can only get better, though, working together the longer they play together, can't they? The City system tweaking and Haaland tweaking his own game.
Yeah, of course. I mean, this notion that City have never had a number 9 before. We had Aguero for 10 years, same kind of thing. Carried him in games because they knew he would score something that just completely out of the blue. It's not new. It's not, they've had a number 9 before, but perhaps not quite of Haaland's build, not quite with the way that he likes to come in deep and make his runs from deep. So it's just a question for all those other players to get used to him. With Guardiola teams, is that squad and that first 11 they know each other's games inside out. That it's so ingrained, the way that they play, the way they pass, the way they move, the little triangles and the little passages of play. That, yeah, of course, Haaland is going to not upset the balance, but he's going to certainly change it. So it's just a question of him getting used to the team. and the team getting used to where he wants the ball. But you're talking about, I'm sat here saying it's just a question of them getting used to it. And yet, on the flip side, he scored 32 goals. So it's just outrageous to suggest that they've got worse because Ireland's in the team.
We'll talk about Bournemouth in just a moment, but first we'll hear from the two managers in this one, Pep Guardiola of Manchester City and first Gary O'Neill of Bournemouth.
I enjoyed the win. In February is irrelevant, really. Of course, I did say this as well, that where you are has an impact on where you finish. Obviously, the higher you are now, the more chance you have of finishing higher, so I understand it. But the fact that you jump out by a point, maybe fall back in by a point, I mean, if you go up and down with that, you're going to spend a lot of time going up and down. So, I'm hopeful that we can keep going upwards, of course. But yeah, the small changes in league position and some teams kicking off before us, some teams kicking off after us will have no impact on how I feel about our results. Sorry, I will always just judge us on what we've done. Fantastic victory, delighted for the lads, delighted for the supporters, and looking to add more.
Always be positive to say that the other one do a good job. So always use the point of view when you take a look is two sides, the negativity of the things to the positivity for the opponents or yourself. So, but we have done in general really well home away many years, and I don't think this season is not an exception.
Yeah, I'm not sure about the Nottingham Forest game. I think Man City should have won that game comfortably. So yeah, there's some stuff. Teams have managed to do okay against them this year in a few different ways. So yeah, we'll try and find a way that suits us, obviously, suits the personnel that we have. Yeah, and see if we can restrict them to as little as possible and try and be a threat as well at the same time.
Well, I would expect when I arrive here and I sit down the first conference and everyone warning me, they said, oh, this is not the same what happened in Spain or in Germany. So welcome to the UK. So unfortunately, the last 5 seasons didn't happen. It's just two hovers. No? So now, finally, there are more.
Guardiola's praised the intensity of Bournemouth's play this season. He anticipates he'll see that even more on the South Coast today. Everybody talking, Dave, about Bournemouth definitely going down. They'd won just 2 points from 7 games until they won at Wolves last week, jumped out to the relegation zone. Back in there now, of course, after the huge wins for West Ham and Leeds in the 3 p.m. kickoffs today, but they're a tougher nut to crack here at the Vitality Stadium.
Yeah, I did the game when they played Newcastle, which wasn't one for the highlights, but they did play well and they competed. There's no doubt that they compete. They're right behind Gary, who I know a little bit from my time at Middlesbrough with him, who's a switched-on guy, understands football intimately, and lives and breathes it. And he's managed to instill that into his players and the fighting qualities that he had as a player too. So that's not in question. For Bournemouth, really, it's just, has the squad been supplemented well enough over the last couple of seasons? Probably not. When you see what everyone else is spending, and I don't just mean the top teams, to fight to stay in this league. So it's a real big ask. The manager's gone. There's been a change around. The fact that they're still fighting is hugely encouraging, but football has a funny way of doing this to you, where you look at the table and you go, right, Everton have lost, Southampton have lost. Who's our game in hand against? Man City. And that's just the way it is. You have to deal with it.
They have actually conceded fewer home goals this season than Manchester City have, just 12 let in 11 games here at the Vitality. The atmosphere is bubbling in anticipation of this big game at both ends of the top flight table. Valuable points on the line at the Vitality in the race for the trophy and the battle to beat the drop. It's a David versus Goliath matchup on the South Coast as Bournemouth look to take a first ever Premier League point off Manchester City. Kickoff is around 5 minutes away. And you're listening to Premier League Live. Bournemouth against Manchester City from the Vitality Stadium. I'm your host, Tim Long. Alongside me, former Stoke City and Reading striker Dave Kitson. This is Premier League Live. The two sets of players coming out onto the pitch. Let's remind you of the starting lineups for Bournemouth. Neto in goal. A back five of Smith, Stevens, Mepham, Senesi and Zamora. A midfield pairing of Billing and Lerma. And then Ouattara and Traore supporting Solanke up top. For City, Edison in goal. A back four of Lewis, Akanji, Diaz and Ake. A midfield of Gundogan and Rodri. And then Foden, Alvarez and Grealish supporting Erling Haaland. It is a mostly cloudy afternoon down on the south coast. Seagulls drifting through the crisp, salty seaside air. A little bit of sun peeking through, hinting at the end perhaps of a cold winter. It's been a strange one, of course, the World Cup breaking up the Premier League season. Both teams' aspirations have somewhat suffered from that. But Bournemouth finally got their first win since the break last week. And a few slips from Arsenal in the icy winter have allowed City to stay close at the top, despite slips of their own. Now it's about generating confidence and momentum and producing a bright finish to the campaign. For Bournemouth, that would mean earning the right to bask in the Premier League sun again next season. For City, at the very least, it would mean a third straight Premier League crown. It's a fantastic atmosphere inside this small Premier League stadium, just 12,000 capacity. Bournemouth in a huddle in their side of the pitch in their red and black stripes, black shorts, and Manchester City peeling away into their formation. And imagine, Dave, the plan from Bournemouth from the opening tip will be to be feisty, physical and frustrate.
Yeah, break the game up. Exactly. That's exactly right. Just break the game up. You've got to keep Man City at bay for as long as you possibly can, because they've proved time and again, if the first one goes in early, it can become a cricket score.
Manchester City in changed colours today. The yellowy line. City get on the ball, and you know that can sometimes mean the opposition won't touch it for a few minutes.
Yeah, Bournemouth have tried that kick-off that teams started to do for a little while. I think they might even have a claim to have invented it, where it goes up, back and forward, and you get a chance on goal, and they've completely messed it up.
City with a line-breaking pass straight away. Haaland the hold-up play. Now a chance for Alvarez, one of the three changes for City. Gets the cross in from near corner of the penalty area. Dangerous moments early on, driven back in by Grealish and deflected behind for a Manchester City corner inside the opening minute.
Yeah, and that's the other thing. It's all well and good stringing a back five together, but can they play together? Are they used to it? How are they going to cope with the runs that City are so good at making?
It's going to be an outswinging corner as City attack the goal across to our right. Haaland makes a run across the near post. It goes deeper all the way to the back post and had to be headed away by Philip Billing on the occasion of his 100th Premier League appearance. Bournemouth throw 10 yards from their own corner flag on this near side.
They were even being deliberately slow about this as well. Just getting the ball back into play with a minute gone.
Every chance you can take to catch your breath against the back-to-back defending Premier League champions. Well worth taking. Throw taken down the line and then shifted on. Bournemouth can't get out of their own half. To play it goes, lofted volley forward for a City throw just inside their half, taken swiftly by Rico Lewis, one of those three changes to the lineup that drew in Leipzig in midweek. Foden and Alvarez coming in as well. There's pressure applied straight away as the ball went forward for City. Jefferson Lerma gets on it. City are going to press as they often do, force Bournemouth back. All the players across that Bournemouth backline getting a touch, but can't find a route forward. It's a risky back pass as well. Very cool and composed goalkeeping from Neto. Bournemouth adamant they want to play out from the back. And that's come at the cost of a throw. It could have been far more costly.
Well, I tell you what's happened. They've absolutely saturated this pitch. You don't see it very often, but they've soaked it. The ball's not moving at all. And it almost was their own undoing, because the ball didn't carry really to Neto that quickly.
City dominating the ball, at least in terms of territory. Bournemouth now first chance to break over halfway after City cede possession back to the home team. They're powering forward with Traore. Down the line it goes. Cross hung into the back post by Zamora. They failed to deal with it, City, and it almost bounced kindly for Bournemouth in the box. But instead back to Edison, who's able to gather. And now it's City's turn to counter, headed forward by Foden. Alvarez. Haaland was looking to make the run in behind. The pass kind of went the other way. And that is one of those moments, perhaps, that everybody's been talking about, where to put the ball into that space behind for Erling Haaland.
Yeah, I'm surprised at Alvarez. I think that's a sign that he hasn't played too much with Haaland, because he wanted that ball in between the centre-backs. He'd started his run from left to right, but he didn't get it. He passed it straight at him, and Haaland had already moved.
City have it again at the back with Akanji. Inside Diaz, Laporte and Stones, of course, still out for City. Now it's Bournemouth's turn to press as it goes back to Edison. Solanke breathing down his neck, passes out to Ake, the left back. Bournemouth pressing well. The ball out of play for a City throw halfway inside their own half.
I keep smiling about it. They've absolutely drenched this pitch with water, and the ball's really struggling to roll. I just wonder if this is a Gary O'Neill. I
was going to say, is that a ploy to stop City? But at the same time, it almost was Bournemouth's downfall, wasn't
absolutely, it? Yeah. You don't see this very often.
Okay. Has it far side. The players will have been out on the pitch to test out the surface pre-game. Of course, back it goes to Edison under pressure from Solanke again. Not to his right back position to Akanji. And City, little at sea on the coast here, have to just hoof it out of play for a throw. Taking the safety first approach that time. So Bournemouth throw, 4.5 minutes in here on Premier League Live. Only about 10 or 15 yards from the corner flag. A little bit deeper, taken by Zamora. Can't manufacture room for the cross, and City will try and pass out from their right back position. Gundogan turning and playing it back. And now Diaz can look to shift them forward as Bournemouth sink off into a defensive block.
It's not the worst start from Bournemouth, though. A couple of dangerous crosses into the box. And it's a little bit more progressive and expansive going forward than I thought it might be. They're certainly committing men forward. I think on the last attack from that cross, 4 men in the box.
It's a remarkable disparity between Bournemouth's defensive records home and away. They've got the worst defence in the Premier League altogether. 32 conceded in 12 games away from home, but here just 12 conceded in 11. Nodded forward by Jefferson Lerma. Nobody chasing. Back to the edge of the City box. City put 4 past Bournemouth in the reverse meeting at the Etihad at the start of the season, their first home game. Players putting in challenges right in the centre circle to see who emerges with possession. It's Bournemouth who do so. Down the line it goes from Smith. Deflects back infield into City possession. Rico Lewis, the right back. Invert it to the edge of the centre circle. Bournemouth pressing over halfway again. Not allowing City to get the ball for now into their half.
Yeah, I was actually at that game earlier on in the season, and City won it at an absolute canter, and you just thought, well, here we go again. It's going to be a year of dominance from City, and it hasn't actually panned out that way.
It's been an era of dominance for City in this fixture in the Premier League. 11 games played, 11 wins. They've done so by an aggregate score of 34-5, including that 4-0 at the start of the season. Here's Foden as they switch it nicely. Takes it down, cuts in onto his left foot. Central to Bournemouth half, being trapped by Zamora. A long-range effort's going to come in over the top by Rodri, who caught it well but couldn't keep it down.
Yeah, the ball out from Gundogan was absolutely exceptional on the half volley off the laces of his right foot. And Rodri, you never know. He's done it before. He's quite a long way out, and he's not a million miles away.
A City team under Pep Guardiola that often hasn't been renowned for taking long shots. They have liked to walk the ball into the back of the net, but Bournemouth sat off Rodri and invited. He obliged, but couldn't get it on target. 7 minutes played. Bournemouth 0, Manchester City 0. Goal kick for Bournemouth taken by Neto. And try and win these second balls as they go long forward, but that time the referee's whistle goes against the home team.
I think that's been certainly a hallmark, perhaps one that they don't really want, City, from this season to seasons gone by, is that they don't seem to restart the game as quickly as they once did, trying to catch teams out. They're a lot more methodical in their play.
Here's Haaland drifting onto the left wing, pulls it back along the deck, almost found its way to Alvarez, and a heavy touch in the penalty area. Nearly presented a golden opportunity to Phil Foden, who just couldn't reach it in time, and Bournemouth clear their lines. So important they keep it level for the first section of the game, isn't it? Like you said, if you concede early, then it really is a mountain to climb.
Yeah, it's just the knock-on effect is huge. The crowd get a little bit quieter, and it's just so difficult.
Nico Lewis, the right back, is further across to the left side of the pitch than the right. Picks up the ball 10 yards off the edge of the box. Offering the width on the right now is Foden. Bournemouth with everybody back behind the ball in their own third of the pitch. City prodding and probing, passing neatly. Gundogan turns it first time out to Ake, the left back. He slows it down again. 9 minutes played, 0-0. City settling into their possession-based system. Bournemouth keeping up with them well so far. It's a question of how long they can do that. Of course, Gary O'Neill's team, Pep Guardiola's Manchester City, down the years have worn teams out with their passing. Do wonder about mental shape and fatigue, the psychology in this game of City having played only 3 days ago. There's an interesting quote from Gary O'Neill, the Bournemouth manager, before the game, saying that this season teams have seen things they can exploit in Manchester City. It just hints at the psychology that there's not that aura of invincibility about City anymore.
Yeah, I would agree. I absolutely would agree. And I also think with Guardiola, he's so progressive. I mean, he thinks about, I think about football in 3D. Pep's on sort of 8K. It's just, he's on a completely different level to everybody else. But I don't think he sticks with it as long as he should do. He tinkers sometimes unnecessarily.
Really trying to squeeze across him from the far side of the penalty area. Deflected away. Back out to the edge of the D. Poke forward. Foden trying to thread the eye of the needle. Gets it back. Left-footed shot. Charge down again. Bournemouth for the first time really pushed back inside their own box now. City increasing their territorial advantage. Back to the far corner of the penalty area. Rodri trying to play it into Ake, has given it away. And now a chance to burst forward for Ouattara. The new arrival on the right wing. Solanke looking to use his pace and power, but well read by Manuel Akanji, who's also got those qualities in abundance. Yeah. Forward to Gundogan on the turn. Just thought about getting Erling Haaland in. He's dragged down, wants a free kick, doesn't get it, and then Bournemouth give it away. Sorry, Dave.
Yeah, no, there are some weaknesses in City. There really are, but I think it's nothing that they can't solve, certainly.
Foden passing back to Diaz. Foden playing like the right back at the moment. Pep Guardiola's systems through the years have all been very flexible. 11 minutes played in this one. They're doing their best to try and break Bournemouth down, but Bournemouth dealing well with City's possession game. Lots of fit, powerful players in the Bournemouth side, and that will help them keep gaps closed, keep snapping away at City's heels. Force City to go back to the goalkeeper, Edison. Manchester City do have the best attack in the Premier League versus the worst defence today. 60 goals for City is 8 more than Arsenal. It's a whopping 16 more than Spurs, who have the third best attack. Edison playing out into the right back position. City shift it forward to Haaland. His touch lets him down. Headed forward off halfway for Bournemouth. They stumble over the ball though with Lerma. That invites an opportunity for City to exploit gaps, but one of Lerma's teammates pouncing upon him, Philip Billing, and bailing him out.
Haaland wanted that ball about, at least a second before Gundogan ended up playing. He had 2 unnecessary touches and Haaland was gone. By the time Gundogan got his head up, Haaland was offside.
City have had around 78% of the possession in the opening 12 and a half minutes. 3 shots, but not really tested yet. The goalkeeper, Neto. And they have it on halfway with Akanji. Back to his partner, Ruben Diaz. All the way back to Edison again, under pressure from Solanke. Force errors playing out from the back. We've seen a few of those over the past week, haven't we?
Yeah, we certainly have it. Do you know, these are the things as well. I mean, we've got sort of Rico Lewis down here as a right back. He's been everywhere but in 13 minutes of this game, and that's what's so frustrating for a manager, an opposition manager, to try and deal with. It's just, you know, where's everybody going to be at any given time? It's impossible to predict.
Yeah, we've talked you through the formations as they are on paper, but it's almost like Phil Foden's playing more as a right wing back, I suppose. Rico Lewis is an extra midfielder. City did just try and go long towards Erling Haaland, but he was beaten to the ball on the edge of the box by Neto, the Bournemouth goalkeeper. It's back with Jack Stevens for them. The goalkeeper Neto having to keep his cool again, and boy does he do that. Pounced upon by Alvarez. He took a shift to the right to beat the Manchester City forward and passed out. I think he was the calmest player in this stadium. The calmest person in this stadium. 12,000 hearts in mouths.
Pep Guardiola with a little wry smile on his face. You know, it was just one of those things where you work all week on your formation, how we're going to play, and then your goalkeeper does that.
Bournemouth doing well in terms of jumping the first hurdle or two. Give it away here though, Rico Lewis. Passed across to Gundogan. 5 yards off the edge of the D. Chips it in behind to Foden. Perfect ball. It has to be a goal off the crossbar. And in. Julian Alvarez taps it home from on the doorstep of Bournemouth's goal after Erling Haaland had seen his attempt hit the bar. And Manchester City, just before the quarter of an hour mark, have the breakthrough down on the south coast.
Well, I think they're going to have a look at this, because it's a fabulous ball from Gundogan to Foden, who cuts inside. You think he's just going to slot it in, but he sort of gets his feet in a muddle. Haaland then hits the bar, and it comes back, but it goes forward again, and it just depends on the goalkeeper's positioning as to whether they're offside. Certainly there's no offside from Gundogan. The touch from Foden is delightful. Neto does well to get a toe to it. It looks as if it's going to stand. There's nothing wrong with that whatsoever.
It's the pass that makes it, isn't it?
Yeah.
It's one of the most pinpoint balls you'll see in the Premier League this season from Ilkay Gundogan. There didn't seem to be the space in behind the defence to play it, but he dinked it over the top perfectly to drop it onto the boot of Phil Foden. And that caused havoc in the Bournemouth 6-yard box, from which Julian Alvarez pounced.
Yeah, and this is the issue. When you've got three centre-halves, but you've got a winger who runs off the wing past the fullback, it's not a natural thought in a centre-half's head to track that winger inside. And that is exactly what caught Bournemouth out.
It's double digits in all competitions for Julian Alvarez, the young striker now this season. And it's a real Manchester City mountain to climb for Bournemouth. The first click and opportunity of the game. And City take it. And now Bournemouth have it all to do. Done well passing out over in the right wing-back position. They want a free kick on that far sideline, and they're going to get one.
Yeah, they are trying to play Bournemouth. They, give them a chance, an opportunity, and they can play, certainly. They're not scared to try and pass out around City. But it just must be so frustrating for Gary O'Neill. We said it before the game. It's just a question. If you're going to play this way, it's just a question of how long you can keep City out. And unfortunately, they only managed to get to 16 minutes.
I'm not sure you can criticise anybody in
Not
Bournemouth
really.
red and black,
the ball
can you?
just ripped them to pieces. The ball from Gundogan was just outrageous. He can do that. He's a sublime footballer. It's just what City do. They do it well.
Pure quality, unlocking the door early for Manchester City. It's the only shot on target in this game. Let's see City ahead. 17 minutes played here on Premier League Live. Bournemouth going to have to be a bit more proactive now, trying to slip it through to Solanke. There's Ahmed Junior Traore, the whistle. Loan arrival in January. They spent a bit of money in January, didn't they, Bournemouth? Two of their four most expensive players in the club's history arriving.
Yeah, they've had a go. I mean, there's still a feeling, I think, around Bournemouth that they're just constrained by this stadium, and that, I'm not sure what they can get in with it if they had a new stadium, whether or not they could fill it. But They've been here a long time. They've had taste of Premier League football for a good while.
They have spent money, but wise money in a sense. They've brought young players they can keep at the club next season if they go down to the Championship.
Yeah.
City passing the ball out to their left back, Nathan Ake. Plenty more minutes there after Manchester City's January departure of Cancelo. City give the ball away for the first time, really playing out from the back, but straight away they're able to force Bournemouth back the full length of the pitch to Neto. Neto clips it towards halfway. It's City who win the second ball with Gundogan looking to turn and fire one of those perfect passes again. Off the head of Zamora. It bounces for Haaland. Might still come near side of the penalty area. Foden back into the centre. Gundogan 5 yards off the edge of the D. Rico Lewis again in field. And he gets it back, playing a 1-2 with Ruben Dias in the centre of the Bournemouth half.
Yeah, when Zamora goes too far forward in that left back position, he really exposes Sensei on the others on that side. And Gundogan's looking for him all the time now.
Erling Haaland turning in the deep, and Gundogan's pass again. He's really pulling the strings, the Manchester City number 8. As soon as Bournemouth clear away, it's pinched back by that central midfielder, Rico Lewis.
It is remarkable how they do this. I mean, he's done it with Walker. He did it with Zinchenko before. It's not exclusive to City. He's been doing it at Barcelona and Munich for many years previously, and this is what I'm talking about. These guys are they reinvent football. Just when you think you've seen everything, something else crops up, and it's amazing.
City are building with a back three. Kanji at the right, Diaz in the centre, Ake at the left. Rico Lewis, an extra central midfielder. Gundogan. There's Lewis out to Foden, wide on the right, back to Akanji. 20 minutes played, Bournemouth 0, Manchester City 1 here on Premier League Live with Talk Sport. City answering Arsenal's win at Leicester, one of the 3 p.m. kickoffs. Haaland, this time he does get in behind, far side of the penalty area, angle closing, still gets his shot in, hits the stanchion behind the goal at the near post, but it took a deflection and Manchester City have a corner.
Yeah, I think Stevens just managed to get his foot across here and deflect it behind the goal. And I think it's going to test Neto, but those little runs from Haaland, they're so good. They're so good.
He's the runaway leader for the Golden Boot in the Premier League, 26 goals in 23 appearances. Corner comes in for Manchester City. Low towards the near post, headed almost only a foot or so off the deck. The header that skimmed like a stone on a Bournemouth beach and across past the far post.
It's Diaz, I think, who just stoops down to head this. And if there's a surprise about the whole thing, is that there's nobody on the far post for City, because if there is, it's a tap-in and it's 2-0.
As long as Bournemouth are only 1 down, they're in the game. If City get a second, you have to feel it's game over. Haaland's next closest challenger, by the way, for the Golden Boot is Harry Kane. Kane is 9 goals behind him. Bournemouth have it in the centre of their half, where Tara just drifting in field. They're struggling to create. That's the big problem for Bournemouth at the moment. Not yet had a shot on goal, and only 27% of the ball.
Just thinking actually about this, could have been Harry Kane, couldn't it, on 32 goals if he'd have got the move he was angling for.
Absolutely.
It's not a bad replacement, Haaland, I suppose.
Kane's future might be a big talking point in the summer again. If Tottenham miss out on the Champions League. Rico Lewis. Huge game for Tottenham against Chelsea tomorrow. We'll have live commentary with that one here on Premier League Live. Bournemouth foraging forward down the left now. A chance to get the cross in towards Solanke. To the back post it goes instead, but far too close to Edison. It was a poor ball from Zamora.
Yeah, it's not the best. It's a shame because he put a real good one in earlier. It's amazing because 4 City players just let him run, give him the freedom of the pitch. That's a shame. It's too close to Edison and it's comfortable.
The City goalkeeper claims it only a yard or so off his goal line. Bournemouth just showing a sign, though, that they can get forward. They're going to have to produce better quality in the final third. They won't get too many chances like that. They've got a free kick here. 23 minutes played, midway point, just about to the first half. Just that one moment of magic from Gundogan. And split the defence open and allowed Manchester City ultimately through Julian Alvarez to take advantage, to nip in and score. Bournemouth have got a free kick that's 5 yards inside the City half. They're going to go long with it towards the near elbow of the penalty area, headed back up into the sea air. It drops on the corner of the box, headed forward, might come for Ouattara. Ederson is at a corner for Bournemouth. But the assistant referee on the far side wasn't in line with it. And fans behind the goal feel it crossed the line. Manchester City able to play on. And play on into space as well, with Foden here on the right, trying to get away from Zamora. Now Rico Lewis, for the first time in the game really, is on the right. He cuts infield towards the D, plays a pass into Alvarez, back to the box, back it goes to Rodri. And City happy just to keep the ball and to slow it down to a walking pace.
Yeah, and I think this is what they've been doing, possibly a little bit too much of this season. I haven't been used to seeing them play this way in seasons gone before. I don't know whether it's because Bernardo Silva is a lot deeper this year and De Bruyne perhaps hasn't been as effective as he's been, but it's like I mentioned earlier, when they restart the game, it's slow. It's not like the real Man City that we've come to know.
And Paul Tierney, the referee, has just stopped the game here because Tango Ouattara took a knock to the back of the head. Bournemouth fans unhappy a few moments ago they didn't get the corner after Ederson grabbed the ball on the byline. Now they're unhappy they didn't get the free kick there. Play restarted. The winger okay. Manchester City still on the ball. Again, just at a walking pace. Grealish can very quickly quicken the pace. Not this time though. Ruben Diaz slips it forward to Gundogan. All pinched off him by Mepham, who comes out to the back three to get tight to Gundogan. This is Bournemouth's next challenge to hold it up. Solanke doing a great job of doing so. Still in his own half, though, surrounded by City jerseys, able to turn a motor over halfway. Solanke, out it comes to Zamora. Is the end product better this time? From the left back, passes back to Solanke, bundled over in the box. No penalty, slammed towards goal. Might still be a chance. Goal kick, the call in the end, as it deflects behind off the boot of Traore. And Bournemouth and their fans will ask the question of the referee once more.
Well, the first thing to say is that it's brilliant from Solanke. He holds the ball up. There's so much pressure around him. He still manages to sort his feet out and spin away and get a great pass off to Zamora going down that left-hand side. He even catches the ball up and gets into the box. I think he just stumbles and loses his footing. I don't think there's certainly not an obvious foul there for me.
He held off so many City players to get there. Solanke. Oh, Haaland almost in. Goalkeeper out of his box. Haaland might have had the chance had he got there in behind to take one touch to go round the goalkeeper Neto. But it was a perfect sliding intervention from Jack Stevens to ensure the ball didn't reach the Manchester City number 9. Bournemouth offside, frustratingly again for them, as it looked like they'd found a bit of space in the City back line.
Yeah, that's unlucky. That was a promising move as well, going from the left to the right. But just initially, it's Gundogan really who's pulling the strings for City, because Diaz is finding him with those balls into that 10 space, and he's turning with the freedom of the park, and he's got Foden going, Grealish going, Haaland going. He could pick any one of them there. Maybe picks the wrong option, but that would be harsh because Stevens made a great cover and tackle.
27 minutes played here on Premier League Live. Bournemouth 0, Manchester City 1. Bournemouth just hinting over the last 5 minutes or so that City won't have it all their own way. And this one is far from finished. Bournemouth have it again. Coming forward is Traore. Back he goes to Zamora. Traore coming across to this left wing now. And looking to combine a little more with Zamora. Off the back of that appeal for the penalty, he did have an opportunity to strike towards goal. Hamed Junior Traore. He put his left boot laces through it. There was a good block in front of him at point-blank range for City. Solanke in the left wing position pokes it through a gap. Bournemouth playing neatly in tight quarters here. A chance to turn for Traore. It was deflected as he went to ground on the corner of the box, but into the comfortable grasp of Edison.
Yeah, it's neat and tidy from Bournemouth. Certainly all the good things that they're doing from an attacking point of view are going down that left-hand side. And at the moment, you wouldn't say City are pretty comfortable with it. Far from it.
As I said a few minutes ago, really just that one moment, isn't it, from Gundogan? It's decided the first 28 minutes of this game. Alvarez with the goal, but Gundogan with the perfect pass. It remains the only shot on target so far for the two teams combined. Gundogan racing down the left now. Can he pick out the perfect pass again? He very nearly did. And Erling Haaland capitalises on it. Similar to the first goal, as Manchester City players point in appreciation at Ilkay Gundogan, who's unlocked this game. And this time it's Erling Haaland who benefits. As far as bad fits go, he's a pretty good one. It's his 33rd goal of the season. And Manchester City have clear breathing room at Bournemouth.
There's a guy on this football pitch who is head and shoulders above everybody else right now, and it's Ilkay Gundogan. Left foot, right foot, running in behind, playing balls in behind. He's created these two goals. Foden's going to get this assist because the ball to the back post comes off Foden as he tries to finish it. He gets squeezed out, but it just falls to Haaland beautifully. And, well, he's not going to miss two in a week, is he?
Gundogan's not going to get an assist, is he, for either goal?
No.
He's played the pass that's created both. And before the half-hour mark, Bournemouth trail by 2-0. And it seems right now it'll be a question only of how many for Manchester City here on the South Coast today.
Yeah, it's just looking at Haaland as that ball spun to him. It was telling just how much he hit the ball into the ground. There was no way he was going to lift it off the floor after the Forest miss. He took it well.
27 goals in the Premier League, 33 in all competitions. And 10 ahead of Harry Kane in the English top flight. They just keep on coming. Whether there's a setback or not, I always feel it's not going to be long until the next one.
Yeah, he's looked on it this evening as well so far. He really has, making runs in behind. Another touch there, holding the ball up. Good forward play.
It's a free kick for Manchester City, right in the centre of the Bournemouth half. He's now only 7 goals away from the Premier League's all-time record.
That's phenomenal.
Erling Haaland.
Yeah, it's phenomenal, and you've got to think he's going to do that.
That was Andy Cole in 94, tied by Alan Shearer the following season. 7 goals away and still 13 and a half plus games to go.
Yeah, it's remarkable, notwithstanding the fact that they're in multiple competitions as well.
"31 minutes played." It's the lockpicker stood over the free kick. Ilkay Gundogan alongside Phil Foden. Foden runs over it. Gundogan takes it in towards the back edge of the 6-yard box. It was dropped into a perfect area, but nobody for City could reach it.
Do you know, there's some players in some games where I think, I wish I could just be a striker just for another 10 minutes. And this is one of them, because Gundogan at the moment, every time he gets the ball, I would just be finding a bit of space. It's just remarkable.
It's like he's got sonar on the South Coast today. Ilkay Gundogan. Bournemouth playing through the midfield. Under pressure and racing down the left as well is Zamora once again. Time and time again, that's been their option. Lovely back heel. Traore, can he get the cross in? Pulls it back, edge of the box. Billing arriving. Lerma there to strike it from the D over the top. Promising signs for Bournemouth. But they need a whole lot more right now.
Yeah, again down that left-hand side. Zamora again puts in the cross. Billing, I thought he might have hit that. A player who's more comfortable and it's a bit more natural too on the edge of the box. He may well have hit that. Decides to be unselfish. And City smother out the chance.
Mepham passes forward from halfway. Okay, that's nice passing from Bournemouth. They don't keep it for too long this time though. They win it back quickly though. Lerma. Solanke looking to get him behind. The return ball never came. Manchester City have it back. It's just that final third that's let Bournemouth down. And at the other end, Perfect passing of Ilkay Gundogan. He scored 3 goals since the World Cup, Bournemouth. It's in nearly 8.5 games now. Every time they found the net, it has been an important one, though. The 1-0 win at Wolves last week. 1-1 here against Newcastle and Forest before that. Precious points. Can't imagine they'll add to their tally today.
Yeah, this is one of those sort of textbook away performances where it's just going exactly how Guardiola probably planned for it to go. Nice and comfortable. Like we said, if they get the first goal, the crowd will go silent. That's pretty much what's happened. What you can hear now is the Man City fans singing.
You can afford to really slow it down to a walking pace now, City. They need to overexert themselves with a full schedule. Games coming thick and fast, important games in all competitions. And Bristol City in the FA Cup on Tuesday. Grealish holds it up far side. From a chance to clear. Instead he plays the pass to Lerma. Stand forward towards Zamora. Zamora caught on the shin, rolling around. A free kick for Bournemouth here.
Yeah, that challenge wasn't too clever from Lewis, I have to say. He was never going to get there. His foot's up. I think he's caught Zamora on the knee.
Gary O'Neill slumped back in the Bournemouth dugout, contemplating any potential next move. You wouldn't want to be him right now. It would be perhaps the point of Bournemouth's season if they could get something from here.
Yeah, it's amazing how quickly the conversation turns to keep a clean sheet, try and get a draw, to try and keep the score down.
Yeah. Haaland. And he's on the scene. It's far easier said than done doing that. Won back nicely though by Traore. Here's Solanke. 10 minutes to go until half-time. A goal would bring a bit of belief back for Bournemouth. Solanke down the left, hustled and harried, and the sliding challenge from Akanji, who didn't give him any breathing room whatsoever.
He's done really, really well, Solanke. It seems to be a different player, a lot more confident, doing different things with the ball, running with it, spraying the ball wide. Like I say, I saw him against Newcastle not too long ago, a couple of weeks ago, and he was fantastic. He was the best player on the pitch, and I've been impressed with him in this. Despite the scoreline, he's actually probably been Bournemouth's best player.
And sliding challenge from Akanji, put the ball behind for Bournemouth's first corner of the game. And it comes from Traore towards the back post, peeling away, heading it back into a nice area. Appeals for handball. It was the header from Lerma that caused all the confusion. They'll appeal again. The play will go on for now, lofted back into the box. This time Mepham goes down after mistiming his jump. City will play it away to Haaland, and Haaland can break away over halfway. Foden racing down the right. 3 City players arriving into the box. Foden held up though. One back as he was sandwiched between Zamora and Traore. Haven't seen a replay yet of that handball appeal. Smith comes down the right, and they're in behind again here, Bournemouth. Where Tara, can he pull it back from the byline? He does to Smith behind him. He struck it really well, arriving into the near corner of the penalty area, having played the ball forward initially from the right wing-back position.
Well, City are appealing for an offside, but I don't think they're going to get it, because it's Diaz who's playing everybody on. He's half a yard further behind. That shot is travelling. It's on its way, believe me, towards that far corner. And that is a very, very good saving header from Diaz.
Diaz just nipping it over the top with his forehead in a flash. Ederson, certainly concerned, flung himself towards that right top corner of his goal. Second corner in quick succession for Bournemouth. This one from the far side, attacking the goal across to our left. And it comes towards the penalty spot. Free header again for Lerma for the second time. Didn't really get a clean connection on it though. Bournemouth pick up the loose ball. Zamora, near corner, near edge of the penalty area. Stevens hangs the ball towards the back post. Haaland mistimed his jump. It breaks for Bournemouth far side. They sting the palms of Ederson at least. It wasn't really a shooting angle for Traore. Might have been better suited trying to pull it back into a deeper position in the box, but he has at least earned Bournemouth a third corner in quick succession.
Well, credit to Bournemouth. They're having a good go at this, and they look dangerous too. They've 3 corners, and they've won the header on all 3 of them.
think the shot would have been going into the side of the post from almost on the byline. Edison made sure, drilled in again, and that's excellent handling from Edison. It was hammered in by Philip Billing from a deep crossing position with his left foot from the right wing, in swinging through traffic in the penalty area, bounced right in front of the goalkeeper, and he hung on to it.
Yeah, that's horrible. How many of those do you see get spilled by goalkeepers? That came through a crowd of players. He saw it late. It dipped and bounced right in front of him, but it never looked like squirming away from his grasp. Really good keeping.
7 minutes until half-time. Bournemouth 0, Manchester City 2 remains the score. The goals for Alvarez and Haaland. But Bournemouth suggesting they can get back into the game. Headed up by Stevens. Haaland on the scene, trying to nip in between Stevens and Senesi. It goes to Grealish. This is back infield to Rodri. Kanji. Foden out on the right. City slow it down again. Just recognising that having a bit of possession will alleviate any pressure that Bournemouth were applying to their penalty area. And they can't keep it this time. Foden's frustrated as he falls down, trying to hang his leg back to the pass that was behind him, which deflects out of play for a Bournemouth throw halfway inside their own half.
Yeah, Foden just went to run in behind. He just went to go just as the ball was played to him.
City have it back swiftly after Traore failed to evade a couple of City players.
I think that's the other thing to say as well, isn't it? For all the attacking prowess of City, how quickly they win a ball back is just incredible.
And that part of the Guardiola master plan has remained, hasn't it?
Yeah.
Throughout his teams. Final 5 minutes of the first 45 to play. They've won 4 of the last 5 Premier Leagues, Manchester City, the last 2. It's almost as if Guardiola got bored of winning that same way and wanted to try it a different way with Haaland, isn't it?
Yeah, just to prove it to himself. I mean, it's not a bad experiment to conduct, is it?
Foden on the right. Akanji back towards the edge of the centre circle to Rodri. It's Rico Lewis turning. Wide it goes to Foden. Crossing position if he can manufacture the room. He goes back to Akanji instead. Always looking for the extra pass, City. That time it's back towards halfway. Foden out on the right wing, and maybe that's where another team would just whip the cross in towards an Erling Haaland type striker.
What he wants to do, what's happening is he wants to come inside and give it to Gundogan.
And now he might. He's attacking the edge of the penalty area. Foden into the box, hangs it up, back post, not it down, but straight to the goalkeeper Neto. It was a really good chance at the back post for Manchester City to increase their advantage to 3, created by Phil Foden, hung over the top of Erling Haaland, and arriving to head down, but to head straight to the goalkeeper was Alvarez.
Yeah, just as we say it, Foden goes on the outside and delivers a pinpoint cross onto Alvarez. His head. He's a fantastic player. I think they've missed him, Foden, massively. I think he's a sensational player. And when he's not there, they do really, really miss him.
That time he couldn't not cross Phil Foden. He was in behind, wasn't he?
Yeah,
that was the ball to play. It's just when there's a defender in front of him, they're always looking to pass it, that extra one, which is, of course, a tactic that's worked very well for them in recent years. Into Solanke, what a turn, almost escaped 2 City players on the edge of the box. Just diverted away at a time he might have been thinking about pulling the trigger to fire at Edison's goal.
Oh, that was almost sensational from Solanke. The ball comes into him, he's sort of dragging it Cruyff-like behind him between 2 players. He very, very nearly pulled it off. Really, really, really unfortunate. It's just a tiny little touch from Ruben Diaz that deflects the ball away for Lewis to clear.
There's Billing. 2.5 minutes of the first 45 to play. Bournemouth 0, Manchester City 2 here on Premier League Live. As it stands, Manchester City set to close the gap at the top on Arsenal to 2 points again, as it was at the start of the day. Arsenal winning 1-0 at Leicester earlier on. Manchester City, at the end of this, will have played an extra game, though. Arsenal will have a game in hand to try and take it back to 5. Lewis under pressure here from Zamora. And snapping at his heels and ultimately giving away a free kick, but fans appreciating the effort.
Yeah. He's actually been going forward. Zamora's actually been very, very good. He's had a bit of difficulty with Foden down that side, but he's certainly their most attacking player. If anyone's going to create something, it looks as if it will be him.
44th minute. City will be in an excellent position if they go in up by 2. But, remember, they arrived here on a sequence of just 1 win in 6 away games in all competitions, 1-1 draws in their last 2 in Leipzig and in Nottingham. Here's Foden. City happy to get defenders on the ball, try and draw Bournemouth out. Goes to Ake. Kanji, corner of his own box. Back to the goalkeeper, Edison. Solanke's going to try and catch him up. Chip ball out to the left winger, Grealish. Keeps it in play neatly on the sideline. Long it goes towards the head of Haaland. Grealish will try and catch up with it. Bournemouth through the left boot of Senesi turn it back to Neto. Neto picks out the wide chest of Philip Billing. Ball Billing, that's a dangerous pass. He's presented it straight to Foden, who's so cool and composed to break Bournemouth's backs at the end of the first half. Billing punished by Phil Foden in the penalty area. A couple of touches to steady himself, and then left-footed in a flash past Neto. And Manchester City are running away with it and emphatically putting a frustrating week behind them. They lead by 3-0.
Yeah, do you know, they just got bogged down in that corner. They want to try and pass it inside, but there's no one showing because City have a really, really good shape and they've boxed everything off. So it forces Billing to go across goal. He doesn't even see Foden, and there's 4 of the best touches you'll see in the game. Sets himself, he takes it beautifully. The finish, he gives the keeper the eyes. And this game is done and dusted, and this has been emphatic from City.
After Julian Alvarez started the scoring by hitting double figures for the season, and Erling Haaland got his 33rd. Now it's Phil Foden who's hit double digits for the campaign, 10 for him as well. And a goal that his play has merited, having caused the confusion in the box for the previous 2 goals that fell kindly to those 2 aforementioned players.
Yeah, he's been really, really effective, Foden. Such a guy. I mean, you mentioned it just moments ago. Such an attacking player. He's aggressive in everything that he does in a good way, trying to win the ball back, closing people down, and he can finish. I just love him. I just think he's a fantastic player.
Half-time at the Vitality. Plain sailing on the south coast for Pep Guardiola and Manchester City. 3 goals to the good. Alvarez, Haaland and Foden, 3 of the front 4 on the score sheet. They have been cold and clinical in the crisp winter air here in Bournemouth. At half-time, it's Bournemouth 0, Manchester City 3. You're listening to Premier League Live. And after back-to-back draws, City are back to their best. Gundogan, 5 yards off the edge of the D, chips it in behind to Foden. Perfect ball. It has to be a goal off the crossbar and in. Julian Alvarez taps it home from on the doorstep of Bournemouth's goal after Erling Haaland had seen his attempt hit the bar. And Manchester City, just before the quarter of an hour mark, have the breakthrough down on the south coast. Gundogan racing down the left now. Can he pick out the perfect pass again? He very nearly did. And Erling Haaland capitalises on it. Similar to the first goal, as Manchester City players point in appreciation at Ilkay Gundogan, who's unlocked this game. And this time it's Erling Haaland who benefits.
There's a guy on this football pitch who is head and shoulders above everybody else right now, and it's Ilkay Gundogan. Left foot, right foot, running in behind, playing balls in behind. He's created these 2 goals.
Stevens hangs the ball towards the back post. Haaland this time his jump. It breaks for Bournemouth far side. And they sting the palms of Ederson at least. It wasn't really a shooting angle for Traore. Might have been better suited trying to pull it back into a deeper position in the box, but he has at least earned Bournemouth a 3rd corner in quick succession.
Well, credit to Bournemouth. They're having a good go at this, and they look dangerous too. The 3 corners, and they've won the header on all 3 of them.
The shot would have been going into the side of the post from almost on the byline. Ederson made sure, drilled in again, and that's excellent handling from Ederson.
Yeah, that's horrible. How many of those do you see get spilled by goalkeepers?
Oh, Billing, that's a dangerous pass. He's presented it straight to Foden, who's so cool and composed to break Bournemouth's backs at the end of the first half. Billing punished by Phil Foden in the penalty area. A couple of touches to steady himself, and then left-footed in a flash past Neto. And Manchester City are running away with it and emphatically putting a frustrating week behind them. They lead by 3-0.
He doesn't even see Foden, and there's 4 of the best touches you'll see in the game. Sets himself, he takes it beautifully. The finish, he gives the keeper the eyes. And this game is done and dusted, and this has been emphatic from City.
Yeah, 3-0 to Manchester City at Bournemouth at half-time. Dave Kitson alongside me, Tim Long, for this one. I think the strange thing here, Dave, is 3 goals for City. Surely 3 points now to close the gap on the leaders, Arsenal, to 2 again. They'll leave Bournemouth in the relegation zone at the end of play today. Bournemouth haven't played bad.
No, they've attacked. They've gone for City. It's just that they've been picked off at the wrong time. And the back 3, to me, they look like they haven't played much football together, and they're getting caught out. They got caught out for the first goal with a beautiful pass from Gundogan ran off the shoulder onto the far post. And Foden, I mean, he could have had a couple. He could have scored that one. Neto did quite well to get his foot to it. And from then on, it's like I said before the game, if City score early, it can be a cricket score because you're not set up to do anything about it by playing 3 at the back or 5 at the back as it really is to get back into the game. All you're trying to do is defend. But for all that, there's been some nice moments. You know, Zamora down the wing has created quite a bit. Solanke looks good. It's just such a tough ask against City, though.
Yeah, signs perhaps to suggest that Bournemouth can get out to the bottom 3 come the end of the season. But Manchester City, absolutely ruthless here so far. No goals, no assists for Gundogan, but he's been the key to the game, hasn't he? In terms of that first pass, like you say, opens the door, and from there you're always expecting a landslide of goals from City.
Yeah, he has. He's been exquisite. His football, and just the little things as well, the way he spins out of trouble, the way he passes the ball, lends it, gets it back. He's always looking forward. Don't get me wrong, when you get into a nice big space in that number 10 position and you're looking up and you've got Grealish, Foden and Haaland in front of you, your life does tend to get a little bit easier. But that said, you still got to choose the right pass. You still got to put it on a plate. And he's done it. And he's just been exceptional, head and shoulders above everybody else.
How do the 2 head coaches approach this second half now in terms of maybe a bit of rest for some Manchester City players ahead of the FA Cup game on Tuesday in Bristol? And for Gary O'Neill, well, the next game for them is Arsenal away. So almost like a training session this second half of how to deal with Arsenal.
Yeah, they don't want a cricket score here at all. They're a team fighting for their lives, and they're committing. They are showing that fight. Certainly, City are just a different proposition completely. But what's really important is Gary will be saying to them, listen, we'll go out. We can't win the second half. Let's not lose the second half. Let's keep this down to where we are at the moment. Last thing we want is just getting out of hand 5 and 6 and then having to go to Arsenal. Who knows what might happen there. I don't think we're going to see them being quite as adventurous as they were in that first half. I think this is now going to be 11 men behind the ball and trying to stop this becoming a rout.
Arsenal winning at Leicester earlier on, Villa winning at Everton, and Leeds beating Southampton, West Ham beating Forest. That puts Bournemouth down in the bottom 3. We didn't have an early game for you today, but we do have a late game. Toby Gillis alongside Paul Mortimer for Crystal Palace against Liverpool after this, and we can hear from the two managers now, Jurgen Klopp and first Patrick Vieira.
I don't think that is the best time to play them. I think, when you're talking about Liverpool Football Club, with what they achieved in the last couple of years, looking at the quality of the players that they have, they will want to bounce back straight away. So there is no good time to play Liverpool. Our performances in the last couple of games, especially at home with the support that we have, has been positive. So it's important for us is to turn those good performances into a win.
Everything what happens in life has influence on confidence. Recently, I scratched my car. So since then, I drive through around corners like this. So and I drive 37 years. I have the license, I think, and I had never a real accident. But it's like everything has influence and confidence. But then after a few miles, you realize, I was just unlucky. So maybe I can just drive normal again. So yeah, but it's about you. Nobody gives you confidence. You have to let it happen.
It was a bit of a car crash at Anfield, wasn't it, for Liverpool in midweek against Real Madrid, conceding 5 goals. Madrid almost pulling out of sight in terms of that Champions League tie. And before that, Patrick Vieira says there's no good time to play Liverpool. This isn't a bad time to play them.
There are times when it definitely isn't in the last couple of years, certainly, but this now is. I remember the same thing happening to Man United when teams began to go to Old Trafford. Once they sensed a tiny little crack in the armour, teams are ruthless at this level. They'll go for you, and that's what's happening to Liverpool at the moment. I think this is a great time to be playing them, frankly.
That game coming up here on Premier League Live. Toby Gillis and Paul Mortimer for Palace against Liverpool in the evening kickoff. But before that, we've still got the second half of this game from the Vitality Stadium. Bournemouth trailing by 3-0 at home to Manchester City. That second half is coming up in just a few minutes' time. You're listening to Premier League Live.
Previously on
Striker Dave Kitson. This is Premier League Live. This game is pretty much over. We've still got 45 minutes to play. We'll see how the two managers and two teams approach it as Bournemouth make their way back out onto the pitch. And Manchester City line up in the tunnel and start to emerge. We'll see if there's any changes at the break in this one. Bournemouth, it's going to be a bad day for them, not just here but elsewhere as well. Big wins at the bottom, of course, for West Ham and Leeds. Leeds leaving fellow South Coast team, Bournemouth neighbours Southampton, rooted to the foot of the Premier League standings. Southampton on 18 points. Bournemouth second from bottom as it stands on 21. Everton back down into the bottom three after losing to Villa. They're on 21 as well. Leeds a point ahead out of the bottom three on 22. West Ham up to 23 points after a 4-0 win for them. All the goals coming in the second half. And then Wolves and Leicester a point above. And still so tight down there. You've got from 14th down to 19th place Bournemouth. Just 3 points of separation. And it's going to be a battle right to the finish, you imagine. How do you see that at the moment, Dave? I think nobody expected Bournemouth to get points today. It was almost like a free hit for them, but it has been a bit of a sucker punch to watch two of their relegation rivals claim all 3 points in their games.
Yeah, that's a big swing in one day to see those victories go in, knowing that you're just about to step out against Man City, who are going for another title. It's psychologically, it's been a big day for a lot of teams. Leeds climbing out of that of the bottom three there is big. Everton, who I thought I didn't see them losing that game quite as comfortably as they did with the Sean Dyche bounce, but it just much of a stretch for Bournemouth.
Second half underway at the Vitality. This game certainly too much of a stretch for them. They trail by 3-0. They're in the red and black, attacking the goal across to our right now. Long ball fired into the right-hand channel for Solanke, who's been holding it up well all game long. Brings teammates into play. Ouattara on the right wing slips it into the box towards Traore, his fellow January arrival. Back to Ouattara, twisting and turning, drills the cross in. Again, Traore was the target, didn't quite reach him, poked away. Positive start to the second half for Bournemouth here.
Yeah, really good. Excellent, coming down the right-hand side this time.
Once again, we'll have another go here. Ouattara, sliding challenge from Ake, and out of play off the winger for a throw into Manchester City by their own corner flag.
Yeah, that surprised me. I thought they would just sort of try and get a foothold in the game, really, but they're still attacking and still going for it.
You mentioned Bournemouth's January business. He signed for around £20 million from French side Lorient. Tanguy Ouattara is only 21 years of age, the fourth most expensive player in Bournemouth's history. Made a pretty good start in the Premier League, trying to knock it on again to Solanke here. Looking like a real thorn in City's side on this near side of the pitch, but it was a thorn-like sting to the shins of Jack Grealish, the bare shins of Jack Grealish, with those socks rolled round his ankles.
Yeah, there's no doubt it was a foul. It was, I felt it. Yeah, there's a lot of leg to aim at. There's a lot of calf to aim at with Jack Grealish, isn't there? Let's be honest. Oh yeah, it is a bad one.
The yellow card for Tanguy Ouattara. He's not scored for the club yet, but in 4 previous Premier League appearances, he has set up 2 goals. Bournemouth have only scored 3 since the World Cup. As we mentioned in the first half, a good move, not just for this season, but for the future going forward. As Bournemouth anticipate potential life in the Championship. City coming forward now on the right for the first time in this second half. Got no one into the box again. Another really clever run. Fired it across the face, comes back out. Alvarez stopped by the leg of the goalkeeper and eventually cleared by Zamora. But Manchester City really threatening for a 4th right at the start of this half on their very first attack of it.
You know, I was just about to say, when that ball went through to Gundogan, I thought he's got it. Surely he's offside. And it took an absolute age for the flag to actually go up. I don't like that rule at all. I really don't. Someone's going to get injured off the back of it before long.
It's a tough one, isn't it? Because assistants do often get it wrong, the offside call. They want to give the VAR a chance to intervene if required, just to try and eradicate any officiating mistakes that might lead to a goal. But like you say, there is that risk of, when the play carries on, the player getting hurt. Here's Rodri. Grealish. Moving okay now. Those meaty calf muscles. Back in field it goes. Rodri to Lewis. Back to Diaz. Diaz across to the right. Foden. City continue to build. There weren't any changes at half-time for either team, so the same lineups. Manchester City, Edison, Lewis, Akanji, Diaz, Ake. We'll get to the rest in a minute because they're quickening the attack here. Foden kills the ball into the box. Headed away. It's Rodri and the excellent Gundogan in midfield. Foden, Alvarez, Grealish and Haaland to complete that City lineup. All of them getting touches of the ball right now. Even Diaz stepping forward, playing the 1-2 with Gundogan. Straight away swivels on the turn. Down the right it goes. There's 4 in the box, a 5th arriving as well for City. Bournemouth pen back. City go back. No need to be too urgent for them. Just looking to make Bournemouth chase shadows. Lovely passing. Lewis getting the cross in. Comes back in again. Punched away by the goalkeeper. Falls so kindly for Manchester City. And it's fired in for a second from Alvarez. And a 4th for City, who are sailing away on the south coast with all 3 points. Bournemouth 0, Manchester City 4, 5 minutes into the second half.
Well, I'm not sure how many passes it was, how long they kept the ball for, but it's a masterclass. That's what it's turned into. And the thing is, Bournemouth are a lot deeper now. They've been told, right, we are going to get 11 men behind the ball now and defend. The problem with that is you just invite pressure and you leave space. Alvarez is not going to miss that. It goes in, I think, off a defender on the line, but do you know what? This might actually go down as an own goal because I don't think this Alvarez shot is going on target.
He lashed at it with the volley. There were 2 players at the back post. It looked like he was travelling wide. It's going to be an own goal, I think, for Chris Mepham.
That's unfortunate. I mean, it's hit so hard at him.
Little he could do about it. And little Bournemouth have been able to do to withstand this Manchester City clinical display. It was 4-0 to City at the Etihad against Bournemouth at the start of the season. There was an own goal scored by Jefferson Lerma in that one. And City goals for Gundogan, De Bruyne, who's not even played yet today, and Foden. It's 4-0 again here, and there's still 40 minutes or so to play.
Yeah, and I think we might see Pep starting to rest some players. We've got a busy old fixture list coming up. FA Cup, Premier League, Champions League. It's all go.
Only the 3 changes today from the 11 that played 3 days ago in Leipzig. Rodri. This was a walk in the park for them, though, here. They'll be delighted not to have to overexert themselves. Bristol in the FA Cup on Tuesday. Then they host Newcastle in their next league game. That will be tough. Newcastle against Manchester United in the League Cup final tomorrow. We've got live commentary of that one, live from Wembley, as well as Tottenham against Chelsea in the Premier League. Just waiting for the first City changes. We might be waiting a while because they're not giving the ball away right now.
Yeah. I have to say, though, this 6 minutes into the second half, this would annoy me as a player coming off now. I would be upset by it. So I know it's the prudent thing to do ahead of the fixtures that are coming up, but this would still annoy me.
You know you're going to get plenty of the ball, plenty of chances.
Yeah.
Opportunities to add to goal tallies. Foden, far side, looking up into the box, passes back instead. Nice turn from Rico Henry. Really positive movement into the box as well, and he's frustrated the return ball didn't come. Pinched back by Alvarez though, chips it in. Foden far side of the penalty area. Takes a touch away from the box. And it goes back down the line. Manchester City toying with Bournemouth. Making those substitutes wait. Chipped in towards Gundogan. Another fantastic run. Equally fantastic touch to bring it down, but cleared away as he couldn't retrieve the ball on the second touch. Wrestling match for possession, and finally a stoppage as Manchester City pull back Traore and Bournemouth have a free kick halfway inside their own half. We're going to see a double change now. Rodri, I think, is going to make way. Indeed he is. Such a key component of this City side. Rodri, who leads the Premier League in touches of the ball and in passes and in progressive passes. Passes into the final third, you name it. Gundogan, who's played the defence splitting passes today, he's going to make way as well, so it will be a brand new midfield for Manchester City. Phillips and Gomez are the two coming on.
Yeah, well, the pair of them have been outstanding. Gundogan in particular has been just a cut above everybody else on the pitch tonight.
10 minutes into the second half, Bournemouth 0, Manchester City 4. Calvin Phillips, Sergio Gomez, the first two changes in the game. Grealish putting the goalkeeper under pressure, and the rest of the Manchester City side joining the press, not letting Bournemouth rest. The City pinch it back before it goes to halfway. Most of their big defeats this season, Bournemouth have come on their travels rather than here at home, but Manchester City showing they can do it to the Cherries home and away. I mentioned earlier, only 12 goals conceded in 11 previous games here for Bournemouth. And City have torched that record, tagged 4 to it. Haaland trying to get in behind. You wonder how many more they'll get. It's back at the feet of the goalkeeper, Neto, though. City have only had 5 shots on target. The ball's been in the net 4 times.
Yeah, I'm sure Gary, after this game, will be saying, look, you know, it is what it is, lads. It's Manchester City. They're going for a title. They've got all the players in the world. But that's not going to cheer them up because it's Arsenal next and then Liverpool.
Yeah, really
get
tough
any
run.
easier. Yeah.
I just wonder where they'll be after those next 2 games. You can't expect Bournemouth to pick up a point in either of them. You never know, of course, but all of the teams find a bit of form around them and start to create a bit of a gap. And back by Billing, halfway inside his own half. After that, it's a more promising patch, perhaps, against Villa, Fulham, Brighton and Leicester. Going to survive this game and the next 2. Traore racing down the left, looking for a consolation goal. Good ball into a nice area and looking to sweep it home. Well, the near post was Ouattara, who was just beaten to it by a City defender in front of him.
That was a good ball. Really, really vicious ball whipped into the near post. It was well defended from Phillips, I think it was in the end.
Billing looking to penetrate the penalty area with the pass. It was a nice idea. Solanke and Zamora were both in the vicinity, but it runs all the way through to Edison. And another big positive for Pep Guardiola and Manchester City today is they haven't had to get Kevin De Bruyne on. He was ill in midweek, missed the game against Leipzig, back to the bench today. Grealish tripped here as he motors through the midfield, fouled by Chris Mepham.
Yeah, you had to bring him down. Grealish was away there. Haaland sprinting away in front of him. Took it down beautifully, actually, Grealish on his chest and cut inside, and he was away. And that is pretty cynical for Mepham. That's a definite yellow card.
We've talked a lot about Erling Haaland's suitability for this Manchester City system. How about Jack Grealish in that regard for you, after arriving for, what, £100 million?
Yeah, it is a lot of money. It is. There's no getting, even in football terms, it's a lot of money. And I wouldn't say I'm the world's biggest Grealish fan. Obviously, he's a huge talent, but I feel he slows the game down too much sometimes. When it comes to him, I think sometimes there's too many touches. Probably a symptomatic of where Man City have been in some games this season, where it hasn't been quick. They haven't restarted the game quickly. Players having too many touches.
Bournemouth have just made their first 2 changes. Philip Billing and Adam Smith making way. Joe Rothwell and Ryan Fredericks coming on. Just before the hour mark here on Premier League Live. Bournemouth 0, Manchester City 4. Headed forward by Calvin Phillips. One of City's 2 changes, Haaland. He'll be thirsty for more goals, chasing down that all-time Premier League season record. Gather it in that time though. Bournemouth can try and break. It's a bad pass though behind Ouattara, who had the opportunity with a big space in behind City's defence to try and take a touch and get through against Edison. Grealish again slowing it down as Dave Kitson alongside me throws his hand in the air in frustration.
Yeah, I mean, it does frustrate me when I see that.
City have it in the box though, in a dangerous position, comes back out and first to it, striking it superbly with his left boot. Nathan Ake absolutely caught that one. Although in the end it was beaten down by Neto. Had it been a little bit further to the side of him, it would have been a fantastic 5. Now Ouattara's escaped the attentions of Calvin Phillips into the box, confronted by Akanji, who's forceful and physical and timed his intervention to perfection. Got his sizable frame in between the Bournemouth winger and the ball and just allowed it to drift behind for a goal kick.
Yeah, he had him there as well, Ouattara. But Akanji just comes across, steps across him, no way round. It is brilliant defending. Really, really good defending. And I think Calvin Phillips has just picked up. Yeah, he's tried to foul Ouattara, who got away. Ouattara actually did get away from him. And Phillips had a lunge and he's been booked for it. It's good refereeing.
City away, down the right. Haaland's eyes lighting up in the centre, makes his run. The cross doesn't reach him from Alvarez. He was just darting towards the back post. Alvarez tried to curl it with the outside of his left boot across. And City have to settle for the corner.
Brilliant play down that right-hand side between Alvarez and Foden. Creating space where there didn't seem to be any. And Haaland he's wearing the look of someone who knows that there's more goals here for him. But it's just, I think he always seems to be looking over to the bench worried he's going to get taken off.
In comes the corner into the near post, headed up. And nowhere near the goal in the end by Ake. 61 minutes played. Bournemouth 0, Manchester City 4. We've got one more game, of course, to come today. Crystal Palace against Liverpool in the evening kick-off. A big game for both. Just seeing a replay of that 4th City goal at the start of this half. Off the outside of the right thigh of Chris Mepham. After Alvarez's strike was travelling wide. Unfortunate own goal. It's been a tough afternoon for Bournemouth. And that compounds their misery. There might be a bit more misery before it's finished. Lovely touch. Now left-footed shot, Alvarez didn't catch it cleanly. He had options left and right.
Yeah, I was just about to say Alvarez has been really, really good. He's looked really sharp in this game, and then he does. They look like me for a minute there. That type of shot.
How many would you score in this team, Dave?
You'd like to think we'd get a few. I'd be quite happy in my substitute striker role, actually, just travelling around Europe. And got on, lads, another win.
Plenty of medals.
Yeah.
There's a meaty challenge from Akanji, sliding through Solanke. A yellow card for the City centre-back.
Yeah, not a good challenge. And he didn't have to make it either. He could have just kept pace down that wing and defended it as well as he did a moment ago.
Lofted high into the City penalty area. Ouattara challenging in the air, was beaten to it. Drops to Grealish. To eat up the green grass as he gets to halfway, slips it through, tough pass to play. It was a really well-directed ball, just didn't quite have the legs on it. And this surface that we talked about in the first half was holding up the ball.
Yeah, I thought it was quite clever from Foden because he could have gone into that challenge. He may well have won it, but he's had a couple of little injuries and little knocks. He wants a good 90 minutes under his belt in this game. And I think that was a sensible thing to do, was just to pull out and concede that possession.
Header out towards the dugouts by Ruben Diaz, a throw for Bournemouth. Damage limitation for Gary O'Neill's team. Of course, you have to consider goal difference, don't you?
You really
so
do.
Tight in terms of the points at the bottom. A high probability even that goal difference could be the deciding factor.
Yeah, I mean, it can't be nice for him. It's almost an impossible. He had to take the job, of course he did. You know, it's a big opportunity for Gary, but it's a real difficult one. It can't be nice standing there.
Mutara has been playing most of the time on the right. He's across on the left now. Looking like a really promising signing. As two is this man, Traore. Nifty footwork to escape Lewis. Pulls it towards the byline, squeezes the cross in. Hammered away by Ruben Diaz at the near post.
Yeah, just scuffed the cross, unfortunately, because it was quite a promising situation he was in.
Good run forward, finding Solanke. And Solanke wins the corner. Bournemouth, again, showing that they can threaten City at least for a consolation, and showing again that those January arrivals will offer them plenty of promise, if not for this season, but for next season perhaps.
Yeah, I mean, that is one thing that Gary will be pleased with. I mean, they're having a go, they're committing, they're going into the challenges, they're not giving up.
Free header again on a corner, nodded down by Lerma. Solanke, can he squeeze it in? Trying a back flick, jabbing it towards goal as well. City getting everything behind it, building a defensive wall on the edge of their 6-yard box, and no way through whatsoever for Solanke. It was desperate defending from Manchester City from a set piece again. Cross comes back in, header at the near post, and away into the fans behind the goal it goes. There's appeals again as Bournemouth players and fans are desperate for some joy today. That's the question of the referee. Well, that was just a mad bit of pinball in the penalty area, and City survived to keep their clean sheet intact.
Well, Ruben Diaz was on the floor there. I'm not quite sure how many he blocked or whether it did hit his. He rolled up his body. It may have rolled up his arm. I can't imagine it's deliberate for a second.
No penalty after a very quick check. It remains Bournemouth 0, Manchester City 4 after 65 minutes. Bournemouth getting closer and closer, but can't quite find their breakthrough. But I think on a day where City have produced an accomplished performance, the one Achilles heel that will concern Pep Guardiola, defending of those corner kicks.
Yeah, I think that's at least 4 that I've counted where Bournemouth have won the first header, which is that would be a concern for Pep, definitely.
It's a problem they haven't solved, because it's been Jefferson Lerma, I think, 3 times, hasn't it, with a free header. And another day against another team, that could be costly. But now no problem, but something to address ahead of the run-in. Just about at the midway point of the second half. Bournemouth 0, City 4. Free kick for Manchester City, just inside their own half. I'm expecting a few more changes. I think another double change at least for Manchester City. Their fans making plenty of noise on the road. A long trip from Manchester to the south coast. Nice passing down the right again. Lovely combination. And then hit the heels of Rico Lewis, who wasn't expecting it. The pass wasn't intended for him, and Bournemouth can play out down their left. And play out with a purpose as well, as they drift into an open centre circle and towards an open right wing, where arriving is Fredericks, attacking Grealish, who defends it well on the near corner of his penalty area and pinches possession back.
Yeah, it's good play. I mean, Bournemouth are having a go. They're trying to attack. They're getting their forward players to have a run. City are just so comfortable back there.
Fredericks has it again on this right wing. Tower 10 yards from the corner flag wins a throw. Lerner. Deep crossing position. Rolls his studs over the ball. Goes backwards instead to Meppen. Up to the left. And it's Bournemouth slowing it down to a walking pace. City then forcing them into a jog, but Bournemouth able to keep it. Positive at times in possession. Here's Lerma. Lerma dinks it forward to the head of Ouattara. Couldn't find a teammate as he nodded it down. It's a bit of a strange pass from Lerma from close quarters to dink it to the head of a teammate. The pass along the ground might have sufficed. A lot of people writing Bournemouth off, Dave, aren't they? But they're right there. They're far from cut adrift. They're only just inside the relegation zone. It's all to play for.
Yeah, absolutely. Absolutely. And there's been two big losses where they're concerned today, with Everton and Southampton going down. But I don't know. I mean, West Ham scored 4 today. It's going to be it is going to be tough. They're going to be in it right towards the end, certainly.
Fredericks, a chance to cross again, gets it in past Ake this time, too close to the gloves of Edison though. He plucks it out to the sky. Hasn't had a great deal to do today, Edison, but he's claimed those balls well when he's had to. And you look at the quality that West Ham possessed, the way they were able to go a bit more attacking today and score the 4 goals. It's hard to imagine they'll be one of the worst 3 teams, isn't it? You could say the same about Everton with Sean Dyche, and Leeds getting a big win. And then Leicester with all of their quality. You do just wonder if maybe Forest or Palace could be pulled down into it as well. A big game for Palace coming up against Liverpool this evening.
Yeah, I mean, the one that would worry me there, if I worried about these things, would be Leeds. I just don't think they score enough goals. They've lost their top scorer. You know, they've managed to nick a big win today, but they would worry me going forward. I just don't think they're scoring enough goals.
Leeds a point better off than Bournemouth. And look at the goal difference. It's effectively 2 points better off. Leeds -10. Bournemouth are now -27. It's the worst goal difference in the Premier League. Still 20 minutes to go in this one. Trailing by 4-0 against a City team looking to pass it crisply again. Could get worse for them in terms of that goal difference. The City come forward on the right now. Foden reaches it, squeezes the cross in. Lerma there to intercept at the near post. And to clear as far as Ouattara. Ake picks his pocket. Grealish in the box. Too much traffic to get through. And then Haaland bundles over his opponent. Well, just tell that he's desperate for another goal, isn't he?
He really is as well. He really is. And these two on the sideline as well wanted to get... They've been standing there for about 5 minutes waiting for the ball to go dead.
I'd forgotten about them, to be honest. And Grealish, I think, is going to make way. Riyad Mahrez is coming on. Manchester City demonstrating their strength in depth. Grealish, one of the two to make way. Mahrez scored the goal in Leipzig on Wednesday. He's one of the 3 to be dropped to the bench today. And Haaland is going to be further frustrated as he goes to the bench as City's 4th change of the game. He has got 1 goal.
He has, and he took it well. He didn't panic, come to him, hits it into the ground. He's done well.
So 13 games to play, 27 goals for Haaland, now 7 off the all-time Premier League record. 72 minutes on the clock. Bournemouth 0, Manchester City 4. Just missed who the second City player was to come on.
Maximo Perón Rodriguez.
Number 32. That tells you how comfortable City are. Able to give significant minutes to role players, young players, as part of the Pep Guardiola education. Grealish and Haaland continue to make their way around the pitch to come off. Here's Ake. Attacking in the left half space. Nice pass into the box. Comes back out. Deflected. And over the top. Struck well by Sergio Gomez. It's going to end up as a City corner.
Yeah, good football. 1 and 2 touch passing all the way up the pitch. And I'll tell you what, it actually comes off the hand of Mepham. I'm not sure if it's being looked at. He's deflected it over the bar in any case for a corner.
A little wait before they can take it, and Mahrez is set to deliver. Into the near post by Ruben Diaz, who broke free of a pack of players at the near corner of the 6-yard box. Didn't make a clean connection with the flick. And City will get another go. It's a corner again.
Yeah, I think he salvaged what was a pretty poor corner from Mahrez. He sort of scuffed it towards that front post, but he couldn't get in. He's trying to Cruyff it towards the goal. I think he's missed it entirely.
Mahrez free into the far side of the penalty area after playing the 1-2 from the corner. It was another scuffed attempt. It was well cleared. Calvin Phillips not quite making the clean connection that time, but City are threatening a fifth. Mahrez again, crossing from a deep position, too close to the goalkeeper Neto.
Yeah, and Haaland's probably looking at that ball thinking that's meat and drink for me.
Mortara forcing Ake and Phillips to backtrack. Phillips across to Halpake, who recognises he's had a few issues dealing with Ouattara.
Yeah, he's been good. He looks dangerous. And it is clever and astute purchasing, really, of players. You know, if the worst happens, we do go down, we can rebuild. We've got some good young talent.
We also spent around £20 million on Ilya Zabani, a 20-year-old Ukrainian defender who's yet to play due to injury. It's not a bad philosophy to have if you trust the talent identification process to sign those young players who, even if they do want to leave in the future, maybe you'll get your money back or more.
Yeah, absolutely. You know, going down to the Championship, it doesn't have to be the devastation that it's portrayed as if you've budgeted right and you've planned, you know, as well as you can. Bournemouth have proved that, coming back up again.
Antoine Semenyo as well, who's on the bench today, was signed for $10 million from Bristol City, where Manchester City go in the FA Cup on Tuesday. It's Jadon Anthony, another recent arrival who's going to come on. And Hamed Junior Traore makes way as Bournemouth's third change. Final quarter of an hour. Bournemouth 0, Manchester City 4. Here's Anthony, who's just come on. What you would say about this Bournemouth team, though, and it's often so important in trying to beat the drop down the bottom, where are the goals going to come from?
Yeah, that is the issue. That is the issue, for sure, certainly in the Premier League. But I look at this Bournemouth team and I think, in the Championship, if this is kept together, it's a Championship winning team. It is. But it's just a stretch too far, it seems to me. And you're right, the goals, it's just the worst combination, isn't it? The worst goal difference. It's not a coincidence.
They're looking for at least a goal today. Can't get into the penalty areas. City nick it back. They failed to score in more than half of their league games this season. Unless they find a way through in the final 14 minutes or added time of this one, it'll be blanks in 13 out of 24. He wants a free kick on the far side of the penalty area there. Fans are desperate for it. Players still down hurt, but Paul Tierney points for a goal kick. Calvin Phillips already on a yellow card. Checking on Solanke. Feeling a little bit nervous, perhaps.
Well, certainly his studs are up. I think he does catch Solanke, I have to say. I can only...
Quite fortunate, won't he?
Yeah, he's definitely caught Solanke. You heard the scream.
He's only recently come on, Calvin Phillips. And he's going to be very lucky to escape a second yellow card. Solanke back to his feet, hobbling. No further punishment. It wasn't even a free kick.
No, it should have been. It definitely should have been.
Foden able to win a throw for City. Well, he went across and checked on Solanke. He looked nervous, didn't he?
Yeah,
he looked like he almost expected it.
He did. If you hadn't touched him and you hadn't gone anywhere near him, you wouldn't bother.
Here he is on the ball now. Ruben Diaz, 12 minutes of the 90 to play. City looking to come forward again out to Foden, near corner of the penalty area. Will there be finally that 5th goal for them. And he comes to the left. They're appealing for offside. Bournemouth players as Foden played the pass back. Took a while to get back, received the next pass, but the flag stays down. Bournemouth, tough to say, but they'd be fairly happy with 4-0 probably, the way they started this half, conceding the 4th. City coming forward again into the box, win a corner, and Bournemouth, if it is only going to be 4, still have plenty of work to do.
Yeah, it's good football again, 1 and 2 touch. City are going to make yet another substitution here. Kyle Walker's going to enter the fray.
It's just remarkable squad depth that City possess. And you do wonder, don't you, if that might be the decisive factor in terms of them maybe catching Arsenal up and overtaking them for the title. But they're 2 points behind for now. As it stands after this one, you assume, with Arsenal still a game to play. But City have the numbers and the know-how.
Yeah, they do. They certainly do. And Arsenal caught a little bit of that today. 1-0. It's not wholly convincing. It's certainly not been as convincing as this. Last week they needed 2 goals in extra time against, or injury time rather.
Rico Lewis comes back to him, tries to shape the next shot after powering the first. So many Bournemouth bodies in the box to block. And then the cross hangs too long in the air. And Neto, plenty of time to telegraph it and to grab it.
They've all got in each other's way. There's about 5 Man City players queuing up to put that in.
Rodriguez, the substitute, back to his fellow substitute Calvin Phillips. Final 10 minutes here on Premier League Live. Bournemouth 0, Manchester City 4. The game really killed by an unfortunate error from Philip Billing at the end of the first half when he passed across the edge of his own penalty area. It was picked off by Foden and put in for 3-0. Bournemouth showed signs of halving a 2-goal deficit before that. That was the killer from City. And shortly after the restart, they added a 4th. Lerma. Bournemouth happy to go back and to keep City at bay with their possession for now. As far as Manchester City are concerned, I mentioned Bristol in the FA Cup, Newcastle in the league, then it's Palace away, the second leg with Leipzig at home, a huge Champions League game for them. That's the real goal, isn't it? And they've made a habit of winning the Premier League title. The Champions League trophy still eludes them. And then it's West Ham and Liverpool at home in the league. How do you see that Champions League tie? Is that a good draw for City away from home? You'd back them at home?
Oh, certainly. Yeah, absolutely. I mean, I saw the away tie. I wasn't massively impressed with City, but they're just a team who in the second leg at home can just suddenly turn it on. It's 3-0 before you even blinked. They've done it time and time again. I mean, and the flip side of looking at that is to say, can Leipzig go there and beat Man City at Man City? That's far more of a stretch than to say, yeah, can City blow these away at home? Certainly.
Favourites for the Champions League or Real Madrid making you?
I would have said City. After watching that Real Madrid game against Liverpool, I was blown away. Modric he looks about 20 years old still. Benzema, they're just incredible.
Yeah, Liverpool were blown away as well, weren't they? 5-2 in the first leg at Anfield to Real Madrid after trailing by 2-0. Bournemouth into the box here, pull it back into a nice area. Might come, they're queuing up for Bournemouth. They have their consolation goal. Hammered home by Jefferson Lerma. A bit of redemption for him after an own goal at the Etihad at the start of the season. Bournemouth fans rewarded for sticking behind here. Able to celebrate in the 83rd minute. It's Bournemouth 1, Manchester City 4.
Well, fair play to them because they commit men forward here. And, on the balance of play, you can say they deserve a chance like that. They deserve a chance to score a goal. There are 5 men in the box here in the 83rd minute by the time that ball is rifled into the roof of the net. Both of their centre midfielders. It's good play down the left-hand side, which is where their best attacking players come from all night. Lerma takes a really, really good touch to tee it up for himself, smashes it in the roof of the net, and fair play to Bournemouth.
And who knows? It could be an important goal in terms of the goal difference when it's all said and done.
Yeah, and as good as City have been, that will upset a lot of the players. It'll certainly upset Pep.
It looked like it did. He was slumped back with his arms folded in the dugout, Pep Guardiola. Gary O'Neill up on the edge of his technical area. Just needs another 3 in the next 6 minutes plus added time. Solanke almost in for another, and Ederson had to fire the ball against the number 9 and away and behind, but that was a risky moment again for City to further frustrate Pep.
Yeah, I'm not sure if Walker's got the pace of this game yet. He's just come on. He's been done down the side once. He's played an under-hit back pass to Ederson that they're very lucky to get away with.
.84 on the clock. Bournemouth 1, Manchester City 4. And another stray pass. Kyle Walker trying to show his pace to keep it in play. He did, but presented it back to a Bournemouth player right by the corner flag. City looking very shaky all of a sudden.
Yeah, they really are. I mean, they're in no danger, but it's just, if you're Leipzig watching this, you'd say, well, you know, is there a soft underbelly there?
You mentioned earlier that Gary O'Neill referred to maybe a chink in the armour of previously impenetrable Manchester City. It's not quite that way, not quite that invincible this season, and others will take encouragement from that. Nice passing through the centre circle for City, though. What they can do is tear you apart, and they very nearly tore Bournemouth apart again there, but the pass was mishit and beyond its intended target. Otherwise, it would have been a chance for 5. It's a chance for 2 for Bournemouth, though. Solanke couldn't take the ball with him through the D and into the penalty area.
It just got played behind him, and he couldn't sort of drag it along in his stride. It's unfortunate.
Final 5 minutes. It was a game that was meandering towards a pretty mundane conclusion, given the action of the first 15 minutes, but it's just picked up pace again, thanks to that goal from Jefferson Lerma. Bournemouth certainly haven't let their heads drop. That will offer real encouragement to them going forward against more beatable opponents. They've got a free kick. And they take along their back line. Just a final reminder that Crystal Palace against Liverpool is still to come today. In around half an hour's time, kick-off in that one. Toby Gillis and Paul Mortimer will be on the microphone for you. An early game in the Premier League today, but we have a late game instead, so don't go anywhere. Here on Premier League Live, it's Bournemouth 1, City 4. Manchester City forced into some defending late on. Ryan Fredericks on the right for Bournemouth. Ouattara turning, looking to attack City, passes on to Lerma. Back to Mepham. Manchester City pen back inside their third of the pitch, and Fredericks slipped in behind. Cross comes across the near post and sliding with everything he got, trying to get his studs on it and poke it into the back of the net. Was Dominic Solanke, who's running in his effort, his hold-up play, and his carrying of the ball deserves a goal.
Oh, yeah, great football from Bournemouth. Patient, and then they suddenly just come alive. Quick pass from Lerma forward, in between the fullback and the centre-half. Great ball across the box of Solanke. Yeah, you wouldn't have begrudged him that if he'd have got on the end of it.
City give it away again. Solanke trying to burst into the box once more. Ouattara didn't quite fall for him. City are all over the place. Now they get the ball under control. Now they're on halfway with Calvin Phillips. Remember, he might have been off. Able to steady the ship. It was rocking. City slow it down again. Triangle of passes in the centre. The Bournemouth half. Bournemouth stationary right now, just staying in their shape. About to enter the 89th minute. It's going to be 12 wins from 12 Premier League games against Bournemouth for Manchester City. An aggregate score of 38-6. You don't see anybody leaving early, do you?
No. Despite the dominance from City, Bournemouth they've played some kind of a part in this game. I've liked them going forward. It's just, it's the final ball a lot of the time.
90 seconds of the 90 minutes remain. They're coming forward again, over on their left wing. 1-2. And into the box. And what a strike from the far side of the penalty area. An absolute rasper across to the far post. Wonderful play. Back onto his right boot from Jadon Anthony. Just didn't quite get the curl on it to really trouble Edison.
Oh, yeah, he's hit it like you hit one of those free kicks when you're trying to get it to move all over the place instead of just wrapping his foot around it. Great play cutting in from that side again. City's right-hand side has, it's been taken apart in the last 10 minutes, actually.
They've had 13, in fact, make it 14 attempts now. Manchester City only 4 more. And City have shown how clinical a defending back-to-back champion can be. 4 goals from still just 5 shots on target for them. Can they be that clinical one more time as they come forward? Left-footed shot, high and over the top. And a strike from distance. City still can't quite put that cherry on top here at the Cherries. Sergio Gomez nowhere near the target.
Yeah, he's not been bad since he's come on, actually. Certainly a prospect.
City have an abundance of those, don't they?
Yeah, they certainly do.
Into added time at the Vitality. There's going to be 3 minutes. City have it. Again, slowed down to gear 1. And pass back into their own half of the pitch. Almost immediately after the conclusion of this game, we'll pass over to Toby Gillis and Paul Mortimer covering Crystal Palace against Liverpool. It's a huge game for Liverpool if they are to close the gap on the Champions League places. That has to be the target. They're in 8th at the moment, Liverpool. And 7 points behind Spurs, albeit with 2 games in hand, and they can really close that gap before Spurs have the tough challenge of playing Chelsea tomorrow, although not as tough as it once was.
Yeah, but it's Spurs.
But it's Spurs.
I can say that as a Spurs fan, I'm allowed.
How do you see that battle for that final Champions League spot progressing, with Tottenham in 4th at the moment, Newcastle 5th with the game in hand, and then of course Liverpool with the 2 games in hand on Newcastle, and Chelsea surely 10 points off, too far beyond it now?
I think so. Yeah, I think unless they go on an incredible run, which they've shown absolutely no sign of being able to put together all season. But, you never know. Strange things happen. But I just... United, who I thought, might tail off, they look as if they're getting stronger, if anything.
City looking to finish strong here. Little trip in the box. It's going to be a free kick right on the edge of it. There's a bit of pushing and shoving afterwards. Bournemouth players perhaps feeling that Riyad Mahrez dived.
Yeah, I think it's a foul. I think there's a nudge here.
Oh, yeah, certainly.
Yeah, there definitely is. And that will be looked at, because that's not a million miles away from the edge of the box.
Into the 3rd and final added minute. City have rarely threatened to get that 5th goal since the 4th. Bournemouth have been the bigger threat over the last maybe 20 minutes of the game and got their consolation to show for it, but City could yet have the final say in terms of the scoring. It is just a free kick. It's only a foot off the edge of the penalty area. It's in the right half space as you look from a City perspective. A wall of 6, a big wall for Bournemouth, with 1 more lying down behind. Riyad Mahrez favourite on the left foot. And he got it over the wall. Well, that's the danger of it being so close to the penalty area. Couldn't quite get it down quick enough.
Yeah, I think with those ones, He's not that far away. But he's trying to pick a real specific area of the goal, literally right in the top corner. I think you just got to get it on target. I think just hit it as hard as you can when you're that close.
There's the final whistle. Manchester City back to winning ways, back breathing down the necks of the league leaders Arsenal. Pep Guardiola's team closed the gap to 2 points, although Arsenal now have a game in hand again. They are determined to keep snapping away at the heels of the Gunners and apply pressure. And they've also today applied further pressure to Bournemouth down the bottom, who will remain second from the foot of the table. City second from the top. They win this game here at the Vitality Stadium by 4-1.